Hello everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to the Monday edition of my bi-weekly behind-the-scenes DM-only live stream, Rafting Icewind Dale, in which I build, write, and prepare for our next session of Rime of the Frostmaiden. If you are playing characters of Robin, Frey, Celeste, Edmund, or Thimbleweed, you have stumbled into the wrong stream and the wrong day. But for the rest of you, welcome. Just know that there will be spoilers. We stream our D&D sessions live on YouTube every Friday. Watch all of our D&D sessions and reviews here on YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter at RogueWatson and join our official Discord server with invite link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. For our campaign, we use Roll20.net, and for streaming, I use Open Broadcaster software with Streamlabs. Nate, James, Open Fox, how are you all doing this evening? It is like flooding in Texas right now. We went from having 1,000 degrees outside with no rain, very, very hot, to just a deluge of water, which is, rain is good, but unfortunately, the ground was not ready to receive the bounty of the sky, and thus we have like horrible flooding right now. Kiddo's softball practice was already canceled, and it's not till tomorrow, but it literally rained all night and all day today, and has flooded just about everything. But here in the Lost Spire of Netheril, we're going to talk more about this little dungeon crawl we've got crafted. The players have made it to about halfway through level 2, which is pretty much as far as I wanted them to get, because I think we're still working on the lower levels, particularly. We got through the Zon social scene, which wasn't meant to give them much information, just kind of meant to freak them out and make them a little bit more confused, a little bit worried about what's going on here, and to kind of tease the things that are happening below. That's true. If we could export some of that water, we'll give it some. You know, it's funny because we just went to my folks' lake house, was a week off I had 2 weeks ago, and the lake was so low, it was like nothing but beach. And then my mom just sent me a picture. She's out there now, on her phone, and all of the sand has gone. It's like water has risen that much. I don't know what, I haven't talked to her yet 'cause I'm a horrible son, but they've gained like several feet just based on that one little rainfall we had. You know, I wanted to do these freezing shadow oozes. I think this is from Kobold Press, because I think they'd be perfect as just a random predatory creature that has crept into this dungeon. I'm thinking a pair of them is appropriate. The one thing I can't do is their cool effect. I mean, I'm going to do it functionally, but I want to do it aesthetically, which is they have an aura of darkness around them. I'll open their sheet. Well, there it is. Within 30 feet, it devours all natural and magical light. This area is heavily obscured by darkness for all creatures. So literally, even if you have dark vision, it is still dark for you, and thus would give everybody disadvantage, which is pretty cool. But I have to remember to do that, and unfortunately I can't really have an aura of darkness in here. The only thing I could do, well, here's the problem. The entire dungeon is lit up with global illumination, so if I turn that off, everything is dark, and I have to manually put in lights everywhere, which is a pain in the butt. Unfortunately, you can't do the opposite as far as I'm aware. You can't add darkness where there is light, which is weird. We do have weird weather in Texas. There's literally a saying where it's like, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. We have some of the most extreme weather patterns, and it often kicks our asses. The only thing we don't have really is earthquakes, but we have everything. We have flooding, we have tornadoes, we have some really gnarly thunderstorms and winds. Yeah, it's a lot and of course just scorching heat. And recently, as of last year, we had that huge, horrible, freezing snowstorm of death. So just all that good stuff. Oh god, that's what I was thinking. I could paint, I could just literally do like a black circle around here, which is not the most attractive, but you know, I think sometimes you gotta work with that. Why does it have two colors here? One of them is like the outer and one's the inner, maybe. Give me a regular circle. That looks so dumb, but that's kind of what I'm looking for. I mean, you could just kind of say, yeah, that whole area's darkness. And the thing is, the darkness would spill 30 feet out, right? Is that what I said? We put this to the back. Yeah, that's okay, because that would. It's really just there to help remind everybody. All natural light and magical light within 30 feet of it. So really, that would probably cover this whole level, wouldn't it? Yeah. So once these doors open and the players went in there, it would actually, like, the darkness would expand the entire area. That would keep things pretty creepy, actually. That's Rolling Stones, right? Paint it black. How dumb does this look if I just have a big fucking circle in here? No, I don't think black tinted light does work. I was trying that. If you notice, when we first started, I've tried two things. I tried doing the aura, and I tried doing tinted light. So token emits light. Unless I need to do, maybe I need to do bright light instead of low light. Let's try bright light. Let's try bright light. Turn off low light. Brightness there. Tell what the fuck that looks like. Yeah, I don't seem to make much of a fucking difference. I don't think it does anything because we're already in global illumination, so I don't think the light is going to change at all. So I don't think emitting light is going to do anything. What I can do is, you don't need vision, is add an aura. But the aura, it wasn't that dark. Here's what the aura looks like. It's not the end of the world, I guess. It's there to remind us. But that might work. Here's without the aura. Oh, and then without this thing. And then when you've got it, it's just, I wish it were a lot darker. That's as dark as it can go. Yeah. Under Explorer mode, you can just not reveal the area. Oh, like go back to old school Fog of War? God, I haven't done that. No, don't add another page. Yeah, you could do that. That's gonna be too much of a pain in the ass, I think. I don't want to have to reveal every freaking room. We can work with this aura thing. I think as long as me, the DM, is aware, and I keep track of it, then I think that'll be fine. I did it on that one. Go black. Make sure the players can see it. We're actually gonna leave them on the. There you go. We'll leave them on the GM layer. So we'll get rid of the circle thing. The idea being they come in here. This is like a library study, I guess. We already had the library, didn't we? Library was the higher level. This is the study. P7. Upside down table. Books are scattered around. More books that they can't read, I assume. Even though it says here's what they are. And then it's going to be danger with a bunch of freezing shadow oozes. Once I'm going to let them come in, they're going to, I'm going to, hey, there's a door here. Once they start exploring, then I'm going to trigger the oozes coming at them. But I need to figure out, oozes going to be able to stealth at all? They do have a stealth +2. Should I just go ahead and roll that and see? Let's go ahead and roll that stealth. 1d20 +2. Oh, snap. Y'all are seeing that, right? That is a natural 20 on my roll of a 22. So we're going to go ahead and say, I'm sorry, party, but these oozes are ambushing whoever the fuck comes in this room with a 20. Those are the stealthiest fucking oozes anyone has ever seen. They only have a 5-foot reach, so they're going to have to drop down from the ceiling to attack them. They only attack once. Their other ability is to snuff out, which is just to extinguish light or magical light. Which I don't understand. Why is that an ability if they already have Aura of Darkness? Devours all natural magical light within 30 feet of it. Why is that an action to extinguish natural magical light source? Oh, within 60 feet. Okay, so it can, I guess, do it for further away. It's got blind sight, so it doesn't care about the darkness, and that's the big thing is they only have the one attack, but they auto deal damage next to them, take 2d4, and obviously because it's darkness, everybody would have disadvantage to attack them unless they had some kind of blind sight ability or something to that effect. That's kind of a pain in the ass, creatures. Now, I should also put some kind of reward in here. That's true if it's in constant darkness. Yeah, that's a good point. And that should be creepy if they open it up and just darkness kind of spills out of this room. Although the main thing is, I wonder, can they turn that off, or is that something they turn on to hunt with? And it just says it is always around them, isn't it? Yeah, I guess it would always be on. But that's true. They, it would be super dark. Damn. So how do I lure them in this room? The only problem is if they open the door, I describe a creepy room of total darkness, and they say nope and close the door. Then I'm like, whoops. Fair. That's fair. What I was thinking is putting some loot in this other room, but now I just realize if it's total darkness, they're not going to be able to see that there's another room in here or see if there's any loot. So in P8 is a reading room, which has a silent spell encompassing this room, which can be dispelled. I was thinking as a cool loot thing to give to the players, what if instead of just a environmental spell that was affecting this room, it was an actual item that was in this room. Some little device, whatever device, I haven't thought about what it is yet, but that does that effect, essentially. It's like you would put it in a library, and it just gives off an aura of silence. Almost like a sphere of annihilation, but only annihilating sound. Which is still probably pretty useful. I might have to put some limits on that. And obviously the biggest limit would be a limit of range. Like you could set it down wherever you wanted to. Maybe I say that you can't throw it. Maybe it's like fragile enough where you can carry it around on you and you can set it down. Maybe you can activate it somehow. I gotta think about that. Just something to give them though for getting through this fight, I think is worth doing. Have an ooze attack if they open the door. Yeah. And then they just rush out and close it. Maybe we could let the oozes crush through and open it up. Maybe they just didn't know. And force the fight that way. Yeah, that's a good point. But I like putting a little bit of treasure in the reading room area. I think we can do that. Enemies are freezing shadow oozes. Ambush, darkness, it's all kinds of bad. The staircase is unfortunately just rubble. Can't use it. But you can use this tunnel, which works exactly like the tunnel that they just came out of, which goes down to level 3 in room P11. And here's where we really need to start laying down some nasty mutant creatures that they have to deal with. And we could deal with some more Dazan clones, which are maybe not quite mutated, but maybe I'd like to hit a sweet spot where maybe there's some Zon clones and you can start saying how mutated they are. Like they've got, you know, half their face is like melting off, or they've got a third arm or something creepy. But they can still cast spells, so that's still like spellcasters, and they're deranged enough to where they would just be instantly hostile to the players, and then maybe either combine that with some more creatures we've got lined up here as different ideas, or leave those for lower down on level 4. But I definitely need to populate this thing with some monsters. Plus, P12 is literally an empty room. It's where normally Zon and Krintos is found, and I'm not using them there. So that's... need to put something in that room as well. Or we could just have some empty rooms in here, I suppose. 11 is the upside down laboratory. Frey has alert. Does Frey have alert? Ooh, smells of cinnamon rolls. Balance can be pretty OP. Yeah. Darkness grants advantage on all attacks. I don't know if the oozes would... well, would they? They do have blind sight. And I guess you could rule that the... well... yeah, so does that give them the blinded condition? I know that the players would have disadvantage if they were in darkness. But that gives somebody who has blind sight advantage on somebody who's in darkness. I guess if they're effectively blind, then it could. That would certainly give me a big advantage to my... because these guys are honestly not that scary. They're only CR3. They do have kind of a mess of hit points. But they only have one attack, and it's only a +5. Now, if they hit, they can hit for 20 damage, which is pretty solid. And the other thing is they're constantly dealing little freezing damage whenever you hit them. Similarly to the Remorazes, actually, except for cold damage than a fire. Yeah, that's something I hadn't considered, though. I could just do advantage with everything. Wizard's laboratories, evidenced by the upside down storage cupboards, empty shelves fastened to the walls, shattered glass, and alchemical mystery across the floor, and the arcane symbols painted on was now the ceiling. Partially collapsed wall exposes room that lies beyond. So you pop out of the tunnel here. There's another tunnel going down to 4. There's a destroyed open area to this room here. There's a door, which is a useless door. It's just a rubble room. And there's another door into the... it's just called Snow and Shadow, because that's where you find the Dazon's Simulacrum. That's the one I was trying to think of. God. The emphasis on the wrong syllable. Simulacrum. Simulacrum? Simulacrum. I don't know what to put in that room either. Maybe that can be where the mages are hanging out. We've already got some clones here. I'll use the same token, I think, and just describe them as being slightly messed up in different ways. And then we'll have some... and they've probably heard, because there's only a 10 feet you can hear, so there'd be voices up here, so creatures down here would be very well aware of the creatures up here. But I don't know how well they'd be able to travel back and forth. Because the question is, I could always have creatures come up and fight the players. Or just having them come down. I don't know. Do the ooze split. Yeah, we could do the ooze split. These things don't do that normally, but we could do that. Blind condition, yeah. So being in darkness just gives them the blind condition, which, I mean, effectively it would. Which, that's a pretty big debuff and hazard to put on a fight. Is like, oh, this is normally not a hard fight, but by the way, all of you have disadvantage and the enemies all have advantage. Suddenly that swings things pretty hard. What do we like for... let's see, we're still looking at all these mutant creatures. Something with claws would be good. Thing is very gross. Just attacks with a bunch of claws. They're all going to be just mutants of Zon. That's the thing. Like, whatever I use, it's probably not going to have its full actual stat block. Effectively be... almost more of a ghoul. I think I'm tempted to search for undead. And reflavor the undead. Because that's what works here for the boss. The corpse mound, which I'm going to reflavor slightly, was also undead. We are the undead. 2 levels of fighter. Man, did not like that fighter split. Kept missing those barbarian milestones, I guess. Don't think you gave me the undead. Filter. There we go. How tough do you want to make it? Which one? The oozes? The ooze fight, not that tough. The darkness thing's gonna be a pain in the ass anyway. Light walkers would not be used here. I see if any of these undead creatures would fit a kind of. I mean, keep picturing a ghoul, but like a stronger ghoul, which is a ghast. Still only CR2. The idea is, I think that he probably could only clone once a day, and he's done this about a month ago, I think. So you figure that there could be up to maybe even over 20 clones at one point. That gives me plenty of creatures to work with. And then obviously once we got to a certain number, they just kept piling together and forming this nasty boss creature that I've got waiting in the wings. Loaded ghoul. That looks like the one from Gloomhaven. Living corpse. Hideous feast. Gross. Wow, CR6. Yikes. Thing is big. I get to play with all these Daracools with our upcoming Empire of Ghouls campaign. Ghast. R4. Dench spellcasting, and I just has the same claws. I want to give them paralyzing claws. Probably not. I just want regular claws. Mongrel folk is pretty close to what I'm looking for, but I want something stronger. Yeah, she really wasn't using any of the stuff. I think she only had 1 level of fighter. I don't think that gives her... What does that not give her? Action surge? I don't think she had that one yet. And second wind, I don't... Yeah. The second wind, unfortunately, it scales to... fighter level. Doesn't quite work as well in multi-classing, I guess. Really gonna have to come up with some custom stat blocks in here, aren't I? Which I can do. Let's look at the mongrel folk for inspiration. Folk has various things: wings, dark vision, keen hearing and smell, spider climb. Hardly any of those really matter in combat. Multi-attack. Claws and dagger. Okay, they've got bite and claws. Honestly, just give me a mongrel folk and I'll scale it up and make it stronger. Better claws and bite attack, and I think we're good for our mutants. I might even try and use this. My token, maybe. Undead. This picture is not too bad. Creepy without being like super different, because I'm trying to do like a gradient of how different they are. Each one was a little bit more mutated than the last. And then how much do I want to put on level 3? Because even if they have spells, if I really want to use the... I should try and use some that are these tokens, just so I can really go off. Okay, we'll put maybe 3 of them around a table. Maybe this will be their little feasting table in here. Or is that what 14 is? Yeah, 14 is a refectory. The eating place. Well, we can always divide and conquer. Put some on this level, put some on the other level. That's true, yeah. I mean, I think second wind is good, yeah. But I know that it can be painful to miss out on some of those abilities. But I'm not, and I've been making excuses for, but I've multi-classed like every main character I've played, so I'm always been like all about those multi-classes. We can put some of them down here. We can split the difference. Put some up here with some more of the mutants and others, and like they're starting to all definitely probably turn on each other. Maybe there's like another dead body somewhere. Let's just take one of you, copy paste it, make it like they already ate another Zon over here. Blood everywhere. Some. Let's take you. Where are you? Well, this picture here. Can I grab this picture? Try and do a little print screen action. Not above that. Copy, save as. On. It'll be my like midway between him and him being like a full ass mutant. The token out of it. Slightly couple steps involved in doing this, but picture I think is going to work for me. Out. That one. Download it. Rime. Token. Oh my gosh, so many steps. Lazy about doing this. And then we finally re-upload you. Boom. There we have Amazon token, and we can just create a custom sheet for it. Let's look at a ghoul. Classic ghoul. Which is kind of what they've become anyway. Boy, that might be a little too weak. A little too weak. Even if I use a bunch of them. Upgraded to Ghast. That's mo better. 8d8, yeah, I like that. Be even. Maybe even more hit points than that. Let's take a Ghast. Are you already in here, Ghast? What are the odds? Is there a Ghast in this campaign? There's not. Okay. Now there is. Fearsmith? I forgot about that one. I will look it up. All one word. Fearsmith. No, it is 2 words. Oh yeah, this is from Tomb of Beast. I think it's fucking creepy. Nice cold eyes. Devour fear. They are 10. Got claws and a heart-stopping stare. It's like a fucking Beetlejuice. Where's whenever they do the try and make themselves look like monsters. I think one of them's got like eyeballs in its mouth. He's got saving throws against advantage on saves against being blinded because his eyes are inside his mouth. Torsion gaze. I mean, at CR10, it would be a boss fight here. Yeah. What I'm thinking about doing is I'm looking for minions, like for shock troops, because ideally I can combine the mutant versions. What I can do is, and combine that with the ones that can still cast spells. I take our friend the Ghast. And duplicate it. Hey, I just started watching Sandman. I'm on the 3rd episode. Which introduces Patton Oswalt the Raven. And we take copy of Ghast. This is like How to Roll 20 episode. And I'm just using that as my baseline. Why start from scratch when you've got a base? We call it Dawn with 3 question marks? Move that. Move the default token. Yes, delete. Upload our recent token as the picture. Like that. Then we can set up the default token whenever it is set up correctly, which is going to be pointing to on with 3 question marks. NPC AC. I don't know how much hit points to give you on average. You can use the same hit points, we can make them stronger. What was the hit point of Zon? That's what I should look at. And maybe I should have the same one. Mage, the same as a Ghast. 98, slightly more. So an average of 40 hit points. We'll go with that. Slightly stronger than a Ghast. Bottom overlapping, and that is correct. You can use that as your default token. Okay. It's important you don't set the HP to the character sheet because you don't want one token to control everybody. Alright. Ignore all this shit. This matters. Dare you. Delete one of my question marks. It needs 3. Which one? Rat King? I don't know if I want to look at that because I think James was just talking about how he wants to do a Rat King thing for his campaign. Don't look, James. What the fuck? Oh, that is fucking nasty. Oh my god. Wow. It's a cool idea, but it's a little too thematic and different from what I'm thinking. Don't look, avert your eyes. That's crazy. Alright, so I'm gonna say no, don't hit that one. Hit the fucking 98, which is an average of 40 hit points. Is not undead, doesn't I guess it's a humanoid. I guess might as well just keep the stats. Not have resistances or immunities. With conditioning use, it actually loses a lot of its defenses. Slightly more hit points. We had mythic actions in roll 20. But I'm gonna give it multi-attack, I think. Get rid of the paralyzing thing. And we'll give it a just an attack twice. So it's a much easier creature to run. Doesn't have any of the other stuff. Doesn't have Turn Defiance. Might have the Stench. Might have the Stench. Poison just by being next to it. Kind of just an easy fodder creature to run at this point. Yeah, change. It's like the easiest creature ever. And then if you roll for hit points, it should work. Yeah, there we go. Beautimus. You've got some that are still basically mages, and then others that have lost their spell casting, but made up for it with just physical prowess, and they've got claws and shit. I can just separate them. And I should have a fight, and level 3 is the perfect chance to do it. I should have a fight that to where as soon as one person goes down the tunnel, the fight starts, which creates an interesting dynamic between players being like divided up and they all having to like shoot down into the fight, and then possibly one person being swarmed. So I definitely like the idea of having some creatures just prowling around here to start with. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and swing this door open. No way that isn't going to be a fight. And you can even have the mages back here, like, you know, cover, basically, slinging spells. That's just evil. And I'm not even using the most brutal creatures. Those get saved for the bottommost layer. I could use one of the more mutated creatures up here, I guess. Now that I think about it. We got two guys, which are basically just ghouls, minus all the defenses. They're pretty shitty. And then a couple of mid-level mages behind them, which they can do some damage, but I gotta watch it with AoEs. Because they're gonna nuke their own dudes. So, Fireball, Cone of Cold, all their good spells are gonna be a problem. Their best offense, if there's minions in there, would be Magic Missile. But they can counterspell, which is a pretty big deal. Shut down the spellcasters. And I guess Magic Missile, technically no joke if you cast it at like freaking 3rd or 4th level. Auto hits. You get 3, and then if you cast it at like 3rd level, I think you get 5. 5 darts doing 4 damage each or something. That's 15 guaranteed damage. Not horrible. Not much for level 10, but these are all meant to be, you know, regular dungeon pacing fights. But I probably need at least one more nasty creature up here. I'm gonna have the same grouping down here. Let's go. Actually, this is where the hole drops, so this will also be a fight. I just realized I've been looking at the stairs the whole time. They don't drop down in the stairs, they drop down in the refectory. So that would actually be one where they would drop down in the middle of a nasty fight. Maybe I need to rethink spawning them in this open room. Maybe, I guess I could still have some. I like the idea of having the mages behind the door. That would definitely be... I should do maybe the nastier creature. Maybe not even do... I probably shouldn't have the mages on this level then. I should be just the nastier ones. I guess I could always change out their spells too. I need what's a good non-AoE? Like Scorching Ray. Probably be pretty solid. And what would a Wizard of Thay have? That's gotta be a stat block, right? Let's see. Surprisingly, maybe it's under Red Wizard. Huh. I could always look up the specific mages they added. This R2 does have Scorching Ray. Scorching Ray is probably just a solid one because it gives you multiple attack rolls. Elf's Acid Arrow, that's a good one. That's an old ass spell. It's been around for a while. Good old MILF. Man, this would be pretty nice to have like invented all these early spells. Your name is just part of it, immortalized forever. I think we need to add spells to our mage stat block here. MILFs. Love MILFs. Range spell attack. Target takes 44 acid damage and 2d4 at the start of its next turn. On a miss, the arrow splashes the target with acid for half as much initial damage. No damage at the end. So it does do damage regardless, which is pretty nice. I like MILFs. Scorching Ray too. Scorching Ray just because you can get multiple attack rolls off, which is always good. Roll them at one target or several. Make a ranged spell attack for each ray. On a hit, the target takes 2d6 fire damage, but you can upcast it, which, if anybody's ever played a spellcaster, an enemy spellcaster in D&D, always upcast everything. Your spellcaster's not going to survive more than 2, maybe 3 rounds. Unless you've got like a freaking huge boss monster or something. Like, yeah, I'm going to cast Scorching Ray at 4th level. Fuck you guys. And then it becomes way better value. Because each one, if you literally cast it at 4th level, you create one additional ray. So that would be 5 ray. Oh, geez, it scales like Magic Missile, doesn't it? Yeah, so 3, 4. You create 5 rays, each of them doing 2d6 fire damage. That's a lot of dice getting rolled. Can Scorching Ray crit? Banish me from a 2 to ray. Banishment's probably too high. Guys should be. I mean, I guess they do have 5th level spell slots, but banishment is that's just a shit thing to do to a player too, because I don't think the player can do anything. It's up to the rest of the party to break the mage's concentration. But I mean, that can be pretty memorable, and it's not like the DM should never use debuffs, and it's just how crowd control works. You need to remember about counterspell. I've not used that at all in this campaign. That will be helpful. So 3 mages armed with spells. 2 what are essentially reflavored ghasts. Should be pretty solid to be up here. I don't know what they're doing here, but they're just going to be there to help fight and create a little battlefield. You could say that maybe they were coming up from the tunnel, like hearing the voices or something also. These guys are probably already here. I wonder what the players see if they go. Let's get the player's point of view. There you go. That's cool. If you drop down, you're just surrounded by dudes. I like it. I like it. See if you put there, you're very much surrounded by dudes. I'm gonna drop people here. And if this one's not over. Is it there? Is this on the GM layer? There. So, I wonder if I should use any of my mutant guys then. I do like the idea of them getting nastier the deeper you go. So this is going to be one big fight down here. So we've got the freezing shadow blast thing here. Eldritch Blasts could work. I feel like or Red Wizards of Thay would be all about using fire spells. So I think Firebolt's a fine spell that they could use. Assume they have Firebolt. And they're 9th level spellcasters, so a Firebolt would be 2d10, which is, yeah, it's already plugged in there. So yeah, that might be. I can't, like, yeah, you can use Firebolt, but more than likely they'll be just casting like fucking Scorching Rays, Melts Acid Arrow. Like, you're getting more value out of all those things because I don't plan on, like, I don't need to conserve spell slots like the players do. One of the advantages to playing DM controlled mages, I guess, you don't give a shit about conserving spell slots. And then I think I'm going to change the shrine in area E13, make it a little bit more powerful. Well, this one's, I guess it's kind of powerful. It grants me the ability to cast Minor Illusion permanently, which is a pretty big deal. I don't know, I'll come up with something, some kind of like buff spell I can give on people if they make an Arcana check or something. Some little interactable they can work with from the altar there at P13. If there's any lootables in 11, is there? 12 is a lot of information because that's all the Dazan stuff. Technically, it's where you get the Shield Guardian Amulet, but I'm skipping that. So I do need, which we can probably talk more about this on Thursday, but I need to give them some bit of loot here. And maybe some of it can be important information for their campaign, too. Like, maybe they get confirmation about, you know, the fact that there's a bigger city out there. You know, maybe in the lower levels, they'll just, you know, it'll be a nice, because information can also be a rewarding loot. But also loot is rewarding loot. I guess you could always take Zahn's original spellbook would be somewhere. I guess that could be worth something. Maybe there'd be a lot of spell scrolls. I think you could, I could really roll up a whole table, and that's something that maybe one of the Zons has squirreled away somewhere. Wherever their ultimate loot pile is just a shit ton of spell scrolls, because that's something that would be in an ancient wizard's tower. That might still be usable, assuming the language of spells has been universal. Maybe even something that, because of our house rules we have, which allows anybody to use a spell, but it just has a chance of it backfiring if you don't roll. You get to roll basically a skill check. Maybe something that gives you advantage on skill checks to use spells, which is normally something that I don't think really exists. So that could be interesting. Like I don't know what it would be, eyeglasses or something that would like you're literally like looking over it. And it probably wouldn't even be a tunable. Maybe a special case you put the scroll in. I don't know, but some kind of device that well, I don't want to make it a tunable, but yet I don't want people to just pass around every time somebody's using a spell scroll. I mean, if you're in the middle of combat, you probably wouldn't be passing around anyway, but otherwise, if you just wanted to use it, I guess you could pass it around. But that could be an interesting item. Just gives, yeah, wands and rods. That's a good point. Could definitely be usable too. Just chargeable spells it would have on them. I feel like that was really common loot in the older edition. I mean, it was all more common loot, I guess. Yeah, I like the idea of wands and rods. I said that backwards. And spell scrolls, and then maybe some kind of item that actually grants advantage to using these spell scrolls, which is a good combination. And I can kind of spread that loot throughout. Maybe that could be the buff you get from, but maybe it's not even an item. Maybe that's the buff you can be granted permanently if you make a good skill check, maybe, or something. That could be an idea. As you gain the ability to use spell scrolls a lot better, you gain advantage. That's not a bad idea. Genius, Eric. With a proper, let's see, what do you have to do for this one? This is just the first time a character who can cast spells touches the symbol. I would probably rule that you need to make some kind of Arcana check when you're casting it or something. Just to commune with it, maybe. And then you can get that. And the question I wonder is if maybe it's only the first person who does that, who's the first spellcaster who touches it. Maybe they gain that ability. That's probably a good ruling. Teaching me things about Roll20. Oh, I know. I really need to sit down and do one of those videos. I take all this for granted. And I realize when I'm doing these crafting streams, I usually don't sit down and do the nitty gritty because I figure it's not that entertaining to watch versus me planning out things. But I do realize that it can be informative and useful for having to work through all that. From most tokens were messed up. Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know when I learned that, but it's important to know. Link it up correctly. Maybe I'll probably put some of the loot in 12. I don't think there's anything but thing in 11. Oh, there is. Character spins. Okay, no, we have more spell scrolls. Visible chest in P15. Why are there all these keys scattered around that Zahn hasn't fucking picked up? Alright, and 13's got the shrine. 14 is the refectory. We're not using the basilisk. We're just using a bunch of other people in there. And we'll probably use one of these more monstrous stat blocks. We might even nuke the mage. And just throw in like one of these things that's real fucking nasty. I don't know. Something like this guy, which is getting real bad and has all these claws and shit. And then 15 is a bedchamber. Skeletons that remains of the Netherese wizard to whom this tower once belongs. From the remains causes the wizard's evil spirit, a will-o-wisp, to appear and attack. The will-o-wisp loses more than half its hit points, uses the next guy's turn invisible, and haunts the characters for the remainder of their time in the spire. Attacking solitary targets or those who can't fight back easily. Will-o-wisp is just pissed off. Well, that's probably too low level for me to use. I feel like non-clones would have explored this whole area by now, and they would have already triggered anything like that. A chest behind the bed. Chest has been made invisible by a spell that can be ended with a successful dispel magic. Chest has a built-in lock, the key to which can be found. How the hell would players know to find an invisible chest? I guess rewarding them for doing detect magic. Inside the chest, an ancient leather-bound spellbook. Bears a rune in its spine identical to the one that appeared in the shield. The Guardians control amulet. The spellbook disintegrates a few seconds after the chest is opened. Whatever spells it once contained are forever lost. Holy shit, game. You put an invisible chest in here. The likelihood of the players even finding the damn thing are low. It's also locked. The players open it. Inside is an ancient spellbook that disintegrates instantly. That is such bullshit. Wow. Well, surely we can do better than that. That's terrible. That's terrible. And then 16 is the actual final rune chamber. I wonder how far we're gonna get this Friday, y'all. I have no idea. We've got the ooze shadow fight. We've got this fight. I mean, it's gonna be a lot of fucking combat. We had a session with no combat, all the exploration, and now we're really gonna start ratcheting up the danger level. I could see us getting level 4 for sure. I would be shocked if we actually got to the boss fight. I'll have the description prepared, but this is probably one where I'd like to keep it a separate session. Do the boss and then do the epilogue and stuff after that. So I'm thinking Lost Spire should take us 2 more sessions. Just because I know fights can take a while, but it's possible they blast through these fights pretty quickly. We'll have to be prepared for that. But I think that is going to do it for today's Crafting Icewind Dale. Thank you all for joining me. If you enjoy the content, to check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. Shouts to Platinum patrons Joe, Will, Thomas, Adam, Stan, William, I'm Loud, Brandon, Genocider, David, Eclectic, Roleplayer, Roll, Christopher, Brian, William, David, Jammin, Clams, Christina, Corey, and Koa1337. And gold patrons RPG, Papercrafts, Pretty Boy, and Yuma, Marcus, Dead Lizard, Lounge, Sam, Lumpy Spuds, Jerome, Nathan, Fast Like a Tortoise, Scott, Humanoid Sized Sphinkers, oh man, I said Humanoid Sized Sphincters, Stephanie, and Refus. Welcome to gold patron level. Refus, thank you all very much for your support. I will see you all for more crafting on Thursday. Do it on Thursday.